Rachel and Alvy face a futuristic dilemma: the convenience of artificial motherhood versus the purity of nature. An intense story that challenges how we view technology and human relationships. Let's go. In a not-so-distant future in vibrant New York City, Rachel and Alvy seem to have everything in life. Rachel, with her deep desire for a child, lives between dreams and the reality of a home equipped with the latest innovations, advanced artificial intelligence, and even toast made by a 3D printer. As Rachel says goodbye to Alvy and heads off for another day of work, Alvy, a passionate botanist and fervent advocate for organic life, stays home. His greenhouse, a sanctuary of true greenery and genuine soil, is the last bastion of authenticity in a world that values the synthetic. For him, pleasure lies in the texture of loose soil filtering through his fingers as he nurtures the dream of one day seeing the world reopen its doors to the natural. At work, Rachel presents on Elena, the interactive assistant that promises to revolutionize the modern home, offering unprecedented comfort. However, she reveals to her colleagues that the advancement doesn't stop there. New programs that can replace essential human functions are just 2 months away. Her performance impresses, and soon her boss calls her in, offering a promotion with a peculiar condition: the use of an artificial uterine capsule to gestate her long-desired child, without the need for maternity leave, with all costs covered by the company. Disturbed yet intrigued, Rachel receives a call from the clinic informing her of the capsule's availability. She decides to reflect on this possibility of futuristic motherhood at the beach, though it is, in reality, a cybernetic simulation created for relaxation and meditation in her own home. Meanwhile, Alvy confronts the reality of youth's disconnection from nature, giving a lecture to students who react with horror and amazement upon seeing real trees. The cultural shock is palpable when he offers a fresh fig to be tasted. The students hesitate, seeing the gesture almost as madness. Only one bold young person accepts the challenge, experiencing the fruit with the courage of an explorer in uncharted territory. Confiding in a friend about her plans for artificial motherhood, Rachel reveals that Alvy is still in the dark about her plans, leaving a future full of possibilities and challenges ahead. He had always hoped that everything would happen spontaneously, and now Rachel needed to find a way to persuade Alvy to accept the capsule so she wouldn't have to pause her professional trajectory. In an intense session with her interactive psychoanalyst, Rachel deliberates extensively and decides to reveal her plan to Alvy only after securing the agreement with the clinic. According to the clinic's policy, all women are guaranteed the right to motherhood without giving up everyday pleasures. Gestation via capsule allows them to continue with their work, sports, and leisure routines while ensuring the baby's healthy development and meticulous monitoring. At the clinic, during a lecture given by the creator of the Pegasus Project, Rachel delves into the details of the center. She closely observes a demonstration capsule where a fetus is already developing. Linda Vec, the center's manager, details all the features available during gestation, such as an app that offers music, movies, and podcasts in various languages for the fetus, as well as a diverse selection of flavors to prevent future picky eating. This approach aims to introduce the baby to different foods from an early age. After the tour, Rachel makes a payment to secure the capsule that will care for her child. Soon after, Alvy is notified by the bank about the considerable transaction, which forces Rachel to muster the courage to explain her plans. Upset at not being consulted beforehand, Alvy is dissatisfied, but tries to maintain harmony and agrees to visit Alice and Ben, a couple of friends who have already used the capsule service several times and are expecting another child. However, the conversation with their friends, who are veterans of this experience, does not change Alvy's opinion, as he ridicules the idea of storing a child in a plastic egg. After hearing his wife's dreams of advancing her career and preserving her physical shape, Alvy decides to give it a chance and talk to the interactive psychoanalyst. However, the situation seems absurdly ridiculous to him, and he ends up fleeing the office, desperate to escape the sight of the massive artificial eye embedded in the flower-decorated wall. After several unsuccessful attempts to convince Rachel to abandon the idea, Alvy finally gives in. That night, he admits to Rachel that he accepts the idea of the capsule if it truly contributes to their happiness. The next morning, the couple visits the Uterus Center again, where Linda offers them the opportunity to choose the gender of their future baby. There is a consensus. They choose to let the forces of nature dictate this decision, and with that, they sign the contract. Suddenly, an immense screen lights up before them, revealing the entire conception process in real time. They watch, fascinated, as the frantic race for fertilization unfolds, and moments later, they receive the news. Their embryo is ready. Now they have the chance to see and greet this new being, an experience that, although joyful, leaves the couple with a strange sense of dislocation. Excited, they decide to share the news with Rachel's future grandparents. The grandfather, overflowing with happiness, suggests that Alvy give a new direction to his life, get a formal job, leave behind his love for plants, and sell the old country house. But Alvy disagrees. He sees in that seaside house the only opportunity to maintain a true connection with nature and life. In the days that follow, while Rachel anxiously monitors the embryo's development through the app, Alvy devotes himself to his plants in the greenhouse. To him, all the technology involved in the gestation process seems very artificial, and he is perplexed when Rachel, worried about the pregnancy, avoids moments of intimacy. This creates tension between the couple, and Rachel hopes the situation will improve when they can finally hear the baby's heartbeat. Rachel frequently visits the capsule at the medical center, observing other babies coming into the world, her heart warmed by emotion and anticipation. She daydreams about her own moment of motherhood, but during one session, the psychoanalyst warns her, through a digital eye, that dreaming is an outdated diagnostic technique with no place in the contemporary world. When they finally hear the baby's heartbeat inside the capsule, the moment marks a significant change for the couple. They are authorized to peek at the tiny being through a special window and are informed that soon they will be able to take the embryo home to begin the domestic gestation period. Preparations to welcome the new life begin in full swing. Rachel organizes a nursery following the latest trends in baby room decoration. Alvy, wanting to contribute, brings home a real olive tree, but Rachel finds the idea inappropriate, leading to yet another disagreement. Rachel, pleading for a return to the traditional, asks Alvy to consider selling the country house as her father suggested. However, Alvy remains firm in his decision to raise their child in direct contact with nature. During a visit to the pool, Rachel approaches a young pregnant woman, briefly touching her belly, marveling at the sensation it gives her. The young woman, in turn, reveals that she envies Rachel's luck, lamenting that the medical center's services were inaccessible to her and dreaming that maybe for her next child, she could have the same opportunity. Back home, Alvy observes the capsule that Rachel brought from the center, a symbol of the new life they will soon be nurturing. In the beginning, the idea is a bit frightening for them, but gradually they start adapting to the new reality of no longer being alone at home. The arrival of the egg becomes a real challenge for Alvy and Rachel. Alvy, worried, questions whether they will be able to properly care for the baby, leading to the first tensions between the couple regarding the responsibility of taking care of the capsule and maintaining a strict feeding schedule. Rachel, in turn, decides to get more organized and, together with Alvy, visits the school they plan for their future child. There, a speaker named Linda Veck presents an innovative teaching methodology where artificial intelligence takes care of everything. No messy paint, no smudged drawings. The children just watch and give their opinions. At the event, they meet parents whose child, also conceived via a capsule, does not have dreams. Linda reassures everyone, downplaying this as a side effect with little impact on human development. While Rachel maintains her work routine, Alvy devotes himself entirely to caring for the egg, responsible for feeding it and following the development schedule, as well as playing whale sounds to enrich the baby's experience. He spends hours observing the child through the viewer, happy to have agreed to participate in the experiment. Alvy decides to invest even more time with his future child by buying a special support for the capsule, similar to a sling, allowing him to keep the egg close at all times. He reads stories to the capsule, does household chores, and even takes the egg to the greenhouse where he works. He also takes the capsule to playgrounds for early socialization and gives lectures to students, seeking to inspire both them and his child with a passion for nature. However, Alvy's superiors do not view his dedication favorably. They plan to replace real plants with holograms in the garden due to the high maintenance costs, which discourages Alvy. His excessive sentimentality begins to worry Rachel, who suggests that maybe they should return the capsule until the baby is born. She fears that the constant outdoor adventures might damage the egg and finds it strange that Alvy never separates from it. At night, Rachel is tormented by dreams in which she sees herself truly pregnant, making her question why she hasn't developed the same emotional bond with the capsule as Alvy. Rachel convinces her husband to accompany her to a session with the psychoanalyst. There, she expresses her anxiety about the eye, and an artificial intelligence suggests that she spend as much time as possible with her baby. Following this guidance, Rachel adopts the use of an egg that simulates pregnancy, although this practice seems anachronistic in an urban and technological environment. At work, she faces an explicit request not to repeat the gesture and is instructed to store the capsule in a specific location to avoid embarrassing situations. Staying late at the office, Rachel rushes to a parenting workshop, using the adapted egg as a simple backpack. At the end of the event, she has to say goodbye to the child, as the contract states that the egg must remain at the medical center for the remaining time. This separation plunges Alvi into a deep depression, and Rachel experiences a significant transformation. A maternal instinct that had been dormant now flourishes intensely. She even retrieves an olive tree from the nursery, believing it will purify the air for the baby. Although her pregnancy is artificial, Rachel's dedication to motherhood affects her productivity at work, which does not go unnoticed by her bosses. However, she cares little about it. As the birth approaches, she spends her free time at the clinic, watching over the egg. Alvi tries to convince Linda, the administrator, to allow them to take the capsule home, but to no avail. Linda emphasizes that the equipment owned by the company is too valuable to be exposed to risks. Despite the setbacks, Linda offers the couple a dream capsule, an innovation that promises to influence the baby's dreams based on pre-selected content. Ignoring the prohibition, Alvi takes matters into his own hands, retrieving the egg from the medical center. At home, Rachel devotes herself to the capsule, although the pressure triggers a series of disturbing dreams where she picks out a child in a store. The situation becomes unbearable, and she wakes Alvi, begging him to pack their bags. She proposes that they escape to their country house, a refuge far from the oppressive reality of the city. Alvi attempts to negotiate with Linda to send a nurse to assist with the birth, but all efforts are futile. Linda demands the immediate return of the capsule. Determined, they leave the city, embarking on a long journey by bus and ferry until they reach an isolated retreat, where contact with nature offers Rachel genuine relief from her incessant worries. Now, Alvi and his wife Rachel only needed to wait for that singular moment. In the meantime, Alvi took the opportunity to show Rachel the wonders of the surrounding nature. He guided her through the trees and vines of the forest, pointed out the sunsets that painted the sky in vibrant colors, and together they planted an olive tree that had once been confined to a small pot. During the serene nights, they would lean by the window, watching the accelerated growth of the baby in the viewing capsule. However, that period of fascination was abruptly interrupted. Rachel noticed that the capsule had suddenly ceased its vital signs. Alarmed, she discovered that the clinic had remotely deactivated the capsule's power due to an alleged contract violation. In a panic, she insisted that Alvi take her back to the city immediately to resolve the issue. However, Alvi had a different plan. He suggested they wait. After all, the capsule would still function autonomously for 2 more days, and within that time, their child should be born. He believed they shouldn't succumb to the clinic's pressure. Betting on patience and time, Alvi was right. The next morning, soft melodies echoed from the capsule, signaling the beginning of the opening process. A specific code was required, which they didn't have. After several failed attempts with random combinations, Alvi decided to break the protocol. Armed with a screwdriver, he opened the capsule himself and carefully lifted out a tiny body. He wrapped the newborn in a towel, relieved to have overcome that ordeal. While Alvi and the baby fell asleep exhausted, Rachel took action. She packed up the capsule's parts and, mounted on her bicycle, headed to the nearest town. There, she shipped the package back to the metropolis, and upon returning, lay down silently beside her new family. Under the starry sky, she made the most significant decision of her life. They would stay there, raising their child far from the clutches of technology and civilization. It was the final curtain for this poignant tale.